Going live, 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 going live. We're live. Good day, everyone.
Is anybody even here?
No one's here yet. Probably Tracy Pinter will be here any second, and Chris Carson, and the rest of everyone. Though.
Let's see who could be live.
Remember Tracy Pinter came to our house?
Mm-hmm. I want to see who's here first, though.
Sure. There's one person in here. I can see them.
Oh, hello. Whoever you are that became first, good job. You're here on time. That means that you like to watch this with me on it.
I was actually not on time today. I'm actually several minutes late today, 5 minutes late, which is not usually the case. Yeah. And then John Lopez is the guy that sends us stuff. He sent me all these pens, the calligraphy pens that I have and stuff, and books and all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And that hot chocolate, remember that good hot chocolate we got? It was like the hockey pucks.
No, if you ever tried it.
Everybody's just saying hi to me. Everybody's just saying hi.
They are. They're saying hi to you.
They never see me anymore.
Well,
I just gone with my own thing.
Look, this guy is all the way from Belgium.
Someone said hi from
Or girl,
Sweden.
I'm not really sure.
Oh, man.
Should we see how far people are away before we get started? We'll do this for 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Could you let us know in the comment section if you are, even if you don't usually comment, just like where are you from? Let's get a sense of where people are coming from, and then I'll get started. But I apologize for my tardiness today as well. I was getting ready. I was trying to mentally prepare. I have the Be About, I almost say get your teach on, Be About It conference today. And I'm trying to like get myself in the zone for that. So look, bro, Sweden. Indiana. I thought it said India, man.
It is a girl.
Alabama, New York, Arizona, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yeah. My wife's mom lives in New Mexico as well.
Is she dead?
No, Grandma Sylvia.
Oh,
is not dead.
Oh, yeah.
California, Clarksville, Tennessee, England, bro.
England.
Ireland, which is even a worse accent that I can do. Yes.
California? Oh,
No. Laser Beam's in New Zealand. Ireland, Alabama, Florida, Los Angeles. Nice shirt. I'm gonna pretend he's talking to you because I like your shirt the best. Algeria, New Mexico, another New Mexico. Youngstown, Ohio, North Carolina, South Maryland, Camino, California. Man, I love California. Southern California. My brother lives in Ventura, and it is like one of my favorite places. New York City, Virginia, Mexico, Florida. Pretty good, man, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, buddy. I love you.
All right, Mom was telling me to get out.
Oh, Mommy was telling you to get out too?
I'm
all
just
right.
trying to keep us on schedule. Sorry.
Mommy was subtly trying to get you out.
I subtly do things on the side or away from the screen, and everyone calls me out.
Mexico, actual Mexico. Awesome, man. Missouri, I see you. So look, I'm going to jump into this, and I'm going to tell you what's going on today. I like that I've been getting a lot of sun, but it doesn't really look like it. I still look like a Twilight character. It's because I need a haircut, but it's coming Tuesday. Jake, you can start the podcast now. If you're new here, I just want to say that my name's CJ Reynolds, and I have this YouTube channel called Real Rap with Reynolds that I started like some years ago. And then I started doing these talks on Sundays as a hope to benefit educators that might be feeling uneasy about the week to come. So myself and this community that is in the comment section here, and even the folks that watch later and are part of the comments, are here to be of service. So if you have a question, you just go ahead and put it in on the side. You can put Q or you can put question. Just let us know that there's an actual question and it's not you just dialoguing with someone else. But if you're new, don't be put off that if one of these excellent folks starts speaking to you, because that's what we do. This is not this, although it is the Real Rap with Reynolds sort of show. I am simply creating the space for us to have conversations that are important. Nothing is off the table here. We will talk about anything with regards to, I don't know, me or education or views in education or things that kind of like are connected to that. So astrophysicists, I don't know if you're going to find a space here that makes you feel, like this is worth something, but it's possible. And if this isn't enough, I also have a book, which is, oh, snap, it's not even back there. I mailed that one out yesterday. I have a book called Teach Your Class Off. You can find it on Amazon. The link might be below in the description box if I get to it. Otherwise, that's just great. And thank you to all the people that are like putting like these great reviews. It is not easy. I have a hard time with compliments, and it is something I consistently work on. But to read the reviews are something that is like, man, it like fills my soul up in these days of quarantine. So I thank you to everyone that is leaving like Amazon reviews. It really means a lot. So today, real quick, in the interest of time, I know that I'm already late showing up here, but this isn't going to go a full hour like it typically does because I'm filming the Be About It conference, which is Hope and Wade King and my friend Call Me Shivy from Instagram, Albert Brooks is, or Alfred Brooks is, I'm a part of their conference today. And so I need to be on there by 2. So we'll get this pretty close to that, but then it's going to cut off. So I can, I don't know. I just need to refresh. You got any questions there, buddy?
Oh, I actually wasn't even.
You were looking at the comments, weren't you? Were you looking at people we're from?
There's actually.
I mean, we are in the summer, so it's like.
Christina Rush.
Cool. It's Christian.
Oh,
I know. Wait, and it's not Rush. It's Rube.
Oh, well, I was looking at it from my angle.
I'm just saying.
Look, I'm the person with glasses in this.
Oh.
Relationship. All right, cut me some slack.
Christian is asking, hi, I'm a teacher in training and a substitute teaching, getting my master's in education. So any advice for those of us substitute teachers? So those of us that the people that have been on here before have heard me say this a lot. I substitute taught one time and I hated it so much that I never did it again. And the reason for that is I didn't have control over the class. It wasn't my class. I didn't have the connections. I knew it wasn't long-term. It was very, very difficult for me. So I think if there was going to be anything, it would be if you want to continue to substitute teach, from what I understand, it's like, schools don't want to have to figure it out, right? I know that my school, when we get subs, there's subs that we like and there's subs that we don't. And that if you heard that a certain sub was in your class that day, there's a good chance things might be broken, things might be out of place, the kids didn't do work, someone went to the bathroom for 45 minutes, you have zero, like it could go completely sideways. I think it's about not teaching a class, right? And you're not even a substitute teacher. What you're doing is you are trying to hold it down, right? You're being of service to the teacher that is out and trying to be of service to the students that are there that want to do the work. So I think that is maintaining a civil amount of chill in the room and trying to create space so kids can actually do work. Now, look, if you know the subject matter, so like when I covered a science class before, I didn't really feel prepared to be able to help those kids because I didn't know anything about science. But if I was in a reading class or a literature class or a writing class, that's my wheelhouse. So that's like my sweet spot. And I feel like I could really help students with that. So I think if I was going to take something away from substitute teaching, it would be practicing connecting with students, practicing seeing how they learn, what they think. I think I'd just be collecting intel and trying to figure out how I would want to run my class when I get it. So that would be my best piece of advice. What you got there, buddy? Cheyenne is asking, hey, what's your video where you talk about introducing novels through kids' books? I'm doing a great job of reading. I'm thinking about doing that in my class for my first year of teaching. I need more guidance. So for those of you that don't know, I teach, one of the things I do in the beginning of the year, and this is only with certain classes. I've never done this with, I don't think I've ever done this with every class. I kind of feel it out if they can get down with it. We read children's books, and very specific children's books to look at like certain elements of what we're going to be learning that year. So it's like an introduction to symbolism, imagery. It could be an introduction to like the plot development. It could be an introduction to climax or that's part of plot development, but to like conflict, character, like what types of characters are in a book, stuff like that. So it's just a fun way, instead of reading a bunch of short stories, to read some really short stories, but they have to be done like in a certain way where there is an actual arch in the story. So Pete the Cat, Giving Tree, even though there's not really an arch in that story so much. I mean, there is, but it's not like that classic, like exposition, climax, resolution kind of thing. There is Anything by Oliver Jeffers is really great. So I have I forget what video that's in, and I just watched it the other day.
I know.
Let me see. Can we make a
note?
Yeah. Can you just, if you have that question up, can you just screenshot it? Shane, I'm going to try and find out where that was, and I'm going to get it to you. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Shoot me an email at realrapwithreynolds@gmail.com. Actually, you don't even have to do it right now, because if she sends me an email, then we don't have to worry about it. If you send me an email, I will send you the links to those videos, because I talked about it in several different videos. And then what should happen is, if I can find some of them, it will automatically link you to the other ones. It'll say like, oh, if you like that, then we recommend this video. So yeah, because so I was watching some of my old stuff the other day for a new idea that I had. Yeah, that's good. Amanda Davis, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Amanda Davis. What do you do to prepare for the year to come? Open to everyone, especially primary and kindergarten teachers. So this is a question for everyone that Amanda's asking. So what do you do to prepare for the year to come? I am finding that this summer, it is all about mental preparation. And so I have a video planned to shoot this week about this, where I don't know what's to come, right? So like, we are going through major changes at our school. We have a new principal this year. There's no vice principal. There's no dean. There's no, like, the guys that help, we call them SSOs, or like guys that help us sort of like manage behavioral needs and stuff like that, are all changed. A ton of teachers, including my friend Cho, are not coming back next year. My friend Yonkers is not coming back next year. So like, all of my friends are not coming back next year. Well, not all of my friends. The majority of my friends are not coming back next year. That are the folks that I connect with the most when I do school. That being said, I don't know if we're going back to the classroom. I don't know if we're teaching from home. I don't know what other teachers I'm partnering with. Like there's too many unknowns this year. That being said, what I can focus on is my mental space, is my physical health, is my, like, if I have to go back to school, like making sure that my body is at peak performance in terms of being able to handle the health, what I'm imagining is like my deteriorating, like, what am I thinking of? What's the word that I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
When you don't get sick.
Your
immune system. Yeah. Like, I've been using more hand sanitizer than I've ever used in my life. And like, I think I have such a strong immune system because I interact with students all day long. So how can I be at my best so that no matter what happens, it's not as much of a punch, right? So like, if you practice boxing and you get punched, it doesn't lay you out, right? Unless you're boxing Mike Tyson or something like that. But if you're not used to it, it will kick your ass. And so you have to be prepared to take those punches. And so what I'm doing is mentally and physically training myself to be able to be at my best for this year. And that looks like a lot of things. That looks like hanging out with Cho came over last night, and we just sat in the garden and like had drinks until like, I don't know, almost 2:00 in the morning. It's going out with my kids, getting sunshine, getting vitamin D, doing the things that I enjoy doing, taking a nap in the afternoon, like having that rest and that piece of my life to really put me at my best place so that I can go back at that level is what I'm looking to do. Mike D is asking, I'm running a PD for administration about helping teachers, coaching teachers with tech engagement in the classroom in regards to online learning. What would be some good tips for administration to know? Mike, I think that I would really want admin to know that there are no silver bullets here, right? Like, we are all trying to figure this out in the moment. And so what that looks like to me is giving teachers room to fail, to try stuff. So maybe there's certain apps or online platforms or websites that teachers are thinking about using, but it's like, try it. If it doesn't work for you, then maybe consider something else. So although I'm doing a brand deal with them, I'm going to talk about them anyway. So just caveat, like, this is not like a promotional thing, but HMH, Houghton Mifflin Harcourt is, that's why we just call them HMH. has some really great free resources on their website right now. Scholastic, who I've done brand deals with in the past, also has really great free resources. The New York Times, which I have no affiliation with, has really great resources. Type in New York Times lesson plans. Maybe some of that stuff works. Maybe you try it and it doesn't work. Maybe you try Google Classroom and you want to do videos for your class, but you're finding that they're not building that engagement. It is, I think, the game is trying stuff and trying to figure it out, because this is a brand new world for so many of us. And although certain brands, certain companies, certain schools, curriculum, creators are going to tell you that this is what you need, that it is this program, I don't think that it works like that ever, right? It's like so many other things in life. You have to see what works for your students, and the kids you had that you're going to get next year are not your kids you had last year. So it's going to be a new set of needs that those students have. That being said, I think the other thing is engagement, man. I get it. Look, you're sitting in your house, you're tired of all this. It's been a long, very kind of grueling end of the school year for so many of us, and you can't go out and you can't see your friends, and the beach is everyone's getting freaking coronavirus on the beach, so it's making me not want to go to the beach, and there's all these normal things we do that we're not doing, but you have to figure out a way to fill yourself up so you can give at a level where, look, you don't have to teach all these classes every day. Can you hone it in for a 3 to 5 to 6 minute class that's going to be epic, where it's funny, it's silly, it's engaging, it's really thought provoking, it's impactful in some way to students? And I think it's that engagement piece, because that's where we're going to lose students. Because look, our kids live in a YouTube world, and I'm not asking anyone to just go out there and be a TikToker or a YouTuber. I don't know if TikToker is a word, but now it is.
No, it is. It literally just came out with a business platform I saw.
Guess who's in the know
2 days
before
ago.
Most people? This guy who's not a TikToker. But it is, when you think about, look at some of your students' favorite YouTubers. What are they doing? What makes these platforms work? And then how can I implement some of these things? So that's what I'm thinking about with regard to that. Erica is asking, question: my district is offering online learning for the next year or so, year or so. I think it's supposed to say year or so in class. I'm entertaining the idea of homeschool, pros and cons versus home versus virtual. We don't know what virtual will look like.
I don't understand. Is the question for for being a teacher, or for as a parent with a child? With the option of going to virtual or the classroom?
We can speak to both of them, because even if that wasn't her intention, speak to the homeschool piece though.
Well, I don't know. If you're virtualing with a school, that is way different. Distance learning is different than homeschool. They're not the same thing. Homeschool, it depends on your state. It depends on the regulations and the requirements. I know in New Jersey, there isn't any, which is one of the most beautiful things about homeschool in Jersey, is that there are literally no guidelines. We get to do whatever we want. I don't have to report to anybody, which is a great thing.
I didn't nudge you on purpose. That was accidentally. I just
virtual learning
just sitting
is
back and hearing you talk about this.
Such a different thing.
It's impressive.
I don't think it's anything like homeschool.
I think that as educators in general, and as a nation, as the world, we overcomplicate education all the time. No one knows your kids like you know them. And unless your students have very specific needs that need to be met, they need a certain type of reading program or tutor to help them. They are extremely gifted, and you're like, dude, I don't know how to do that math, and there's no way I'm going to learn faster than you are, so I can teach you. That might be something to take in consideration. But if you feel that you can meet the needs of your own student, I think homeschool is 100% the way. We started homeschooling our own kids last year. They have very specific needs, and the goal is to get them into a school that is more suitable for them, right? Pay for a private school, which is what a lot of this work goes towards. But it is it's right now, I'm telling you that our son has never been happier since he started school than he is right now as a homeschool student, right? That means that you are trimming down the fat. It means that you are chunking up lessons. It means you can take breaks. It means your kids can go outside in the afternoon. It means you can have class on the beach. It means your kid can sleep in a little bit later or stay up a little bit later, because you're not held to that strict schedule of the school, which for our kids for my specific child with his specific needs created a lot of anxiety in that place of like freaking out that like, you know, we were going to be late and the teacher's going to be mad, but he has a hard time focusing and paying attention. It's like you have to literally stand behind him when he brushes his teeth, and it's like, oh my gosh, please brush your teeth. Let me actually do them for you. It's like that. You're just getting rid of all that stuff, getting rid of school lunch. You're getting rid of, which is trash where we live. So there's all this goodness, and you're connecting with your child.
I was gonna say it's very relationally based, right? So like the learning happens even not just through always like the same way that it happens in a school building. It happens much more through conversation and through talking about things and wondering things and why questions and all of those. Because
virtual learning, the way
to answer
it's happening in our neighborhood. Sorry, I cut you off there at the end. I don't see that as a good fit for our children, right? Some kids are thriving with that. Some kids I had in school that did really, really well with virtual learning. So let's do the flip of this. So let's say that question, although I don't think it was about this, let's say it was about should we do virtual learning or classroom learning next year? Like which one should folks be leaning towards? I, with all my heart, think that really, without knowing all the science, right? Caveat, the science seems very separated depending on who you're listening to, what channel you're watching, what news platform you pay attention to. Seems like there's like two sides to this coin, right? There's two different opinions. I think that if we can pull it off as a country, as a world, that virtual learning is so much more the move right now. And the reason for that is if I think about, if I really think about, I'm going to say both sides of the coin here. The students that I serve, right, which is what I can see and what I connect with and what is my world, that live with grandparents, that have compromised immune systems. The idea that they would go to school, interact with people, even though the best of intentions are there to keep it safe and clean and all that stuff, going home and potentially getting someone sick, potentially dying, that is of huge concern to me. The rate of asthma if you live in a city is so much higher than anywhere else that you could live. And so that being, a fact is something that, when we have something like coronavirus that's attacking your lungs is dangerous, man. And the idea that I would have to go, and look, I know there's a lot of essential workers out there, but that, teachers would have to go to school and then come home to their families, potentially bringing something home that you don't want to bring home and infecting your whole family also is difficult. That being said, I understand that a lot of parents can't do, like what are they supposed to do when you have a 5-year-old and you count on school and you can't go to school, and they're not going to school? Like, what happens to your work? I get that. I don't have an answer for that, but I think that that's kind of the move. And I look at a school like mine and I'm like, I don't know how we do in class. Like, my room looks big online. It's not that big. If I have to separate kids 6 feet, I'm going to have like freaking 4 kids in my classroom at any given time. So I don't know how we pull that off, but that's my 10 cents on that. Amari is asking, I'm going to start teaching this October, and I'm wondering what language should I use with first-year EFL students? Look, I would say that's an interesting question. I think it's meeting the kids where they are and bringing them up to where they need to be. So it's about looking at your school curriculum, looking at what the school expects, what the district expects. But then if you meet your students, so if they are English as a second language, it's bridging the gap, right? It is, I have found, and look, this is my limited experience. I speak like 10 words of Spanish. Marley and I are actually trying to learn Spanish right now as part of our quarantine summer, but it's doing it, for me. It was like, I remember I had this young lady that was in my first year that I ever taught, Damania, and Damania could not speak any English. She could understand a little bit, if I gave like simple directions, but mainly there was a young woman that sat next to her, Nicole, that used to translate everything for me all the time. How I sort of met that need, not speaking Spanish, was I created space after school where all the kids that spoke English as their secondary language, like meaning at home, it was all Spanish. In the neighborhood, it was all Spanish. With their friends, it was all Spanish. I created a space after school where those folks could show up, boys and girls, and get get tutoring from me where I would go through everything again, trim the fat, and take it slow. And in doing that, you were creating a space that really made kids thrive, where they realized that they weren't lacking, they weren't behind, they weren't less than everyone else. They had the same stuff going for them. There was a language barrier, and you were going to do everything that you could, bring all the resources you could, any of the other people that you could, to be the best, to create a situation where those students could grow. Now, I will say that Damania, just from by nature of being in a space that it was like a necessity to learn English and hearing people all the time, being taught in English, reading English all the time, she did grow. And like by the time she was a senior, I mean, I met her not too long after she graduated. I was in a store and she came up and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Mr. Reynolds." And she had a baby and she was showing me the baby and we were having this conversation. And I remember stopping and going, I can't, like, it just blows my mind how much growth folks can have when they need to. And I remember saying to her, like, I'm like, I can't believe we're having this conversation in English where when I met you, you would just stare at me all the time. Like, bro, no idea what you're saying.
I remember her. And I remember you being like, I don't know what to do.
Dude, it was because it was terrifying, man. Because you're just like, oh my gosh, but you forget how much people can grow. So I would meet them where they are. If you have to start speaking in Spanish or teaching in Spanish and then transition, get after it. That's what I would do. So that's what I'm thinking about. Great job, though. That's a great question. And it's really awesome that you're even being thoughtful like that. I'm going to say your name wrong. Maybe. Adibay? I think I got it right.
I'm going to go with it.
Adibeh. Adibay. I'm going with it. Cute kid, by the way. Unless that is you. Unless you are the little child in the picture, which would be awesome. Question. I want to be a teacher, but I am still in my freshman year. Any advice of college? So I think that's fine. I didn't know I wanted to be a teacher till like way after how old you were. I didn't start teaching until I was 27. I think if you want to teach, it's about speaking to an advisor, seeing how you have to switch your focus of what you are focusing on in school right now, like whether you're undeclared major or if you like want to move into that major now. It's just about speaking with someone and getting those things shifted over. If not, it's about teaching yourself. I mean, I think I learned more useful stuff about education through conversations with other people, through podcasts, through blogs, through YouTube videos, through books that I read on my own, right? Educating myself than I ever did in college. And so that's what I would encourage you to do. I think stuff that I would start off with is like, I always say anything by Rafe Esquith, anything by Father Gregory Boyle, anything by Jonathan Kozel, or my book, Teach Your Class Off, The Real Rap Guide. So there's a ton of books out there that you can start off with. It's just about like going down that rabbit hole and finding things that really excite you. And that is what got me through like the English part of my college years when I knew I wanted to go for education. So I started reading about like John Taylor Gatto, or I started reading about what are those crazy schools that our friends started where kids like direct their own learning?
What?
Reggio Emilia. What is that stuff? When you like just go, you like go to school. It's very hippie.
Montessori?
Yeah, Montessori schools. They were so fascinating to me. And it was like I didn't even know what a Montessori school was when I started teaching, but that idea was mind-boggling to me. So yeah, here's the thing, whatever you want to do, you got to find a way to just get obsessed about it. That's how I've only ever achieved anything in my life. When I wanted to graduate college, when I wanted to get chicks to marry me, when I when I wanted to like buy a house, when I wanted to start a business, it's getting hyper focused on something and just charging after it, and getting, borderline obsessed with it. And that's how I get anything in my life.
But I like how you talk about cross training for teaching. So someone in here made a great comment to this person. I don't know how to say your name.
Yep.
Ortiz.
Zillion Ortiz?
Yeah.
I think I said that. I don't really know if I said that right. I apologize if I didn't. But teaching certificate was, so it says my teaching certificate was just dotting I's and crossing T's. The real pedagogy came from everywhere but my teaching education classroom. Yep. And you have to remember too that all the things you're doing in life, right? So like speaking to Ortiz's comment, it can be teaching yourself about education, or it's learning about yourself. It's learning about learning. It's learning about social emotional well-being of people. It's learning about trauma. It's learning about all these other things, and then seeing what has your life taught you that you're going to then is going to impact your classroom, because it's going to impact your classroom, whether you want it to or not. Your life will impact your classroom. And so it is looking for the useful bits of that. Did you lose someone? Was someone born? Did you have a child at an early age? Have you been through a rough marriage? Were you in foster care? Have you had a wonderful life that your parents got along and loved you and supported you and is the greatest thing ever? All that's going to inform the type of educator that you're going to be. So it's like diving into that stuff is really good. What's up?
Oh, nothing.
We're heavy on the hate on the trolls today. Good job, Tracy Pinter. I see you in there taking care of business.
Thank you, because it's not even coming up on my phone.
Yeah, it's because Tracy Pinter's taking care of business before we get to it.
I know. She's great.
I think it's because we trend on Sundays now.
Which is awesome.
Like if you go to like who's live right now, I think we're up there. Jeffrey is asking, do you still have connections with the letter classroom? I really love how the both of you talked about education. I have talked about this before. I'll just say no. I don't have a connection with letter classroom anymore, and not by my own sort of doing. It was like I want to, but can't connect with those that don't want to connect with you. So that was like the end of Upgrade Ed, which I've spoken about in other videos and stuff like that. So yeah. So
moving on.
Because I don't mean to be dismissive of that. The video that we made with regards to like getting started teaching, or so you want to be a teacher, I think we called it, or something like that, was really, really good. I felt like it was really great stuff. But yeah, life just goes another way sometimes. Lisa Funky Haired Teacher. Well, you win the award for best name this evening. I have a flexible seating classroom with shared supplies, not thinking that it will be that will happen next year. So any suggestions on how to keep the flexible seating by keeping CDC guidelines? Yeah, this is a really great question. My instinct would be, is that flexible seating just distance apart enough? It's, I think what this is going to do is challenge us that, like, kind of the cool thing about the flexible seating that I offer in my classroom, with the exception of my couch, is which I wonder if that's going to be an issue this year. Like if they're even going to.
I wonder if it's even going to be there when you get back.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if they throw it out. I'm going to have to go get a new couch. A plastic one. I'll go old school plastic slip covers on that thing.
Can we put partitions in it, like in between each cushion?
We'll just get chairs.
As long as it's a 3-person couch and it's got 3 separate cushions, we'll just build something, okay?
Yeah, that's what I do. So I think it's going to be reimagining some of those things. But the stand-up desks that I have are already several feet apart from one another. And so I think it's just taking some of that idea and reimagining it. We cannot go without certain things like that, like certain fidgets that I give kids. But I mean, look, CDC guidelines are saying, like, if a kid doesn't have a pen or a pencil, you cannot give them one. Like, it's like, you're not allowed to do that stuff, is what I read. I don't know if there's like a newer version and they changed that, but it seems crazy. So I think some of that is like reimagining how you're going to meet the needs of those students. And I would say, here's why there's like not necessarily a definitive answer on this yet. Because I don't know that any of us really understand what this looks like when we go back in the classroom. Will kids be able to move around? Can they not move around? Are they separated and still? Are they, like are there half the amount of students in your class that there normally are? What is that actually going to look like? So I think once we understand what that's going to look like, we can start reimagining and looking at some of those things. So that's a really great question, but I really love to also answer that in September after I've gone back, if we go back and then kind of say, all right, here's what we're figuring out now. Like, this is the new thing we're figuring out. Jamie is asking, do you have a list of the picture books that you use? So I do. Do I have a list? I'm trying to think. I list them in the video, but it is, oh gosh, I'm trying to think if I have them on my Amazon. So most of my live feeds don't have the description boxes not filled in below because I wait till
due to me. Sorry.
I wait for thumbnails and it just takes a long time for my wife to get to them sometimes. But if you go to any video that has the description boxes filled in, there is a space in there where I have an Amazon store. And look, I'm going to make 2 cents off of your purchase. So just, know that I'm,
know that we're making total bank off
yeah,
of that.
we're making bank off of it. So if you go in there, I believe I have a number of children's books that I use. Some of them are weird. It's like The Giving Tree, Anything Pete the Cat. There's a really great story called Hot Hens and Ralph and the Story of the Weirdo Winter by my friend Derek Brown. The Anything Oliver Jeffers, like I said. What else? And then there's just some weird books. How to Get a Girlfriend. That was the best book Brody ever brought home in the
Scholastic
second or
Fair.
third grade Scholastic Fair. How to Get a Girlfriend. It was written by little boys. And it was like,
but Brody
be nice.
But Bro couldn't read
wash
yet
your armpits
at that
dude,
that time, so he had no idea when he picked it up, which made it even more.
I think he just liked the look of it.
Yeah,
but
the art on the front.
It was like to see your kid come. I got a book today, and it was like, oh, are we even interested in this yet?
This little book. No, it was cute.
He wasn't. He used to kiss girls in chapel. Remember that?
Oh, don't say that.
I shouldn't tell that story. All right, it was hilarious. Marie Cook is asking, we will be doing a hybrid model next year, 2 days with cohort A and 2 days with cohort B. Teach the same thing with both practices done at home. No Zoom during home days. Feels no win. Any tips? So Marie, we have a similar kind of like insane thing, except what we're doing is, let's say on Monday, if I have a second period class, half of that class comes in in the morning, then the other half of that class comes in the afternoon. And then the off days, we're supposed to be doing distance learning. Here's what I will say on the internet in front of everyone. I will do what I feel like is best for my students. And that won't be a solo decision. It will be made with my community that I teach with. It'll be made with the community and people that I know on here. But it will not be done with policy just being, I will not just take anything that someone tells me to do and then do it if I don't feel like it's benefiting students. So for instance, we're supposed to give homework at school. It's like a thing that we do. I don't give homework. I don't think that's necessary. And the way that I teach my class and the way that I run things, I think that I'll say I give very, very little homework, but I don't give an hour a night like is prescribed. I just choose not to. My homework should take 10 to 15 minutes a night if you get it. And that's maybe 2 times a week. So, but that's how I reimagine the situation, right? And I know it works for my students and I see it work for my students. So I keep doing it in that way for my students. So I think what this is, what I'm trying to fight off is going back, seeing the schedule that the school sent out, seeing the idea that they have, and not sweating it. Knowing that this is going to be malleable, it's going to have to change because we're not the only voice. It's parents informing schools that this is not working for my kid. This is too much for my kid. They can't be on a live Zoom call every day. They can't do this. They can't do this. They can't do this. And it's going to be this constant reinvention of what we're doing to get to a place where we're like, okay, we're pretty good, right? So I think it feels like we're on a balance beam and you have an idea of what that balance beam is going to do. But it's like, once you get on the balance beam, it's like trying to figure that out until you're like, oh, okay, all right, I think I got it right now. And it's still a precarious place, right? Like to be on a balance beam, because any small shift could make you fall off, but it's trying to figure that out. And I think we do that as a community and don't just take whatever is given to you because it has to be about the kids. And oftentimes, whether it's the board, whether it's the district, whether it's the union, it is not, these decisions are not made with children in mind. They are made with policy in mind or things that we need to be doing. And it's, it's about entering in and making the kids first is the gig. Let's just do one more because I only have 15 minutes. So I have to be on that call and I want to be on early.
Sure.
Okay.
I have 2 more because I have different.
Okay, cool. So 2 more. And then I got to go to be a part of this conference that I'm doing today. That's getting recorded at 2:00. Swim Chick, what's up, buddy? I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Hey, Reynolds, it's been a while since I caught a live session. All right, cool. With my second year of teaching looking like it will be online for the first semester, any ideas on how to make relationships with students? I think that what I'm feeling is that it is all about intentionality. It's all about showing that you care and that you're showing up and being authentic. And when we can do that, whether it is virtual, whether it is in real life clearly is like that is like my jam. But if I can connect with students, show some authenticity and show that I really, really want to do well, no matter what, I think that wins the day. So if you are on a Zoom call and you're not making it just about class, but you're just doing a quick check-in, if you're doing follow-up Zoom calls or phone calls or texts or WhatsApp or whatever with families, it is that sort of intentionality that is going to let students and their families, you are actually about them growing and succeeding even in the midst of all this madness. I have been thinking a lot about this idea that we look, and I don't want to go too much into like my sort of like religious beliefs, but I think it's worth posing the idea of, what if we were born for this? What if you were supposed to show up in this time, in this era, to have everything from the social justice movements that are happening right now, quarantine happening right now, like the school year looking the way the school year is going to look next year? Like, what if we were born for this stuff? And if you feeling like bummed out about it.
Nice question. Sorry. And it's two-parter.
Okay.
It's just such a good one.
Cool. Melissa Hewitt, last question. And my wife said it's a good one. So
does Mr. James P. He agrees with me.
Mr. James P. is such a guy. He's such a nice guy. I noticed that as the world goes crazy and the unknowns increase, people are starting to crack and quote unquote bleed over each other. I see it in gardening groups, in the Real Rap With Reynolds group, etc. Some of these conversations get mean. What do you think? What do you do to be engaged in the conversation, but also keep out of the line of fire? So that's a great question. So the Real Rap With Reynolds Facebook group. So if you're not a part of it, it's there. You can sign up for it. You just have to answer 3 basic questions, so we know that you're an educator, or want to be an educator, and you're not like a business or something like that. There have been issues lately with regards to the group where there's been like a couple of people that have started. Some people would say that they're trolling, right? And trolling meaning like they are saying things with the intention of getting an emotional response from folks. So how do we deal with that? How do we deal with any group, whether, like you said, gardening, friend groups, family things? It's like this welling up of like everyone's stuff is coming up because look, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter are not escapes anymore. It is real stuff going on there all the time. And it's not so much like, here's my feet up on Friday, or me and the dogs in the pool, or stuff like that. What do we do when the news is so overwhelmingly crazy with 100 things, whether it's like what some country is doing, nuclear, stuff that's coming up, with stuff with regards to Black Lives Matter, or with shootings, or cops, or school, or quarantine, or whatever. I think it is, how do I address it without staying out of the line of fire is, Mr. Rogers said a long time ago, in times like this, what we need to do is look for the helpers, because what we can often do too many times is look at the problem and see what the problems are, instead of thinking that this is actually like that there are actually people behind the scenes that you don't see because they're not talking to the television screen, because they're busy doing work, that are doing the best that they can to show up and to be of service. I think there's a couple of things that we can keep in mind in this time. I think one is intentionality. And in that intentionality is willingly showing up to add your voice. We cannot, I am a strong believer in St. Francis's words, where he says, preach always, and when necessary, use words, right? And that doesn't have to be religious context. That could be a whole lot of different things. Preach always, when necessary, use words, meaning love is a verb, meaning that you have to show up and do. That you can't just say I love you. You got to show I love you. I can't just say I support you. I got to show I'm supporting. I can't just say that I'm anti-racist. I got to show that I'm anti-racist. This is that time in history where we need to show up and do that. But I think it's also having empathy for people. It is identifying the fact that folks are on the edge, that they are feeling some type of way, that they're having a really hard time with what's going on, and that their emotions are they're quick to anger because, you know, there's a lot going on. I think it is about never giving up. I think that love always shows up. And when we can remember that, then it's easier to just keep showing up day in and day out. What I would meditate on is, one, the things that you're able to bring and not just the deficits that you have. And then also that this is a long-term game, right? Like anyone that's looking for a quick fix, anyone that thinks policy is going to change, racism is going to end, that quarantine is going to end in the next, 2 months, 2 minutes is fooling themselves. What we need to remember is that just like in education, it is always about the personal connections. It is always about having empathy for people. It's always about showing up every day and being consistent and never, ever, ever giving up. I had a student the other day, Miles Henry, that is someone I was very close to when he was in school, but he had a very difficult time in traditional school. And I wasn't sure that I ever got through to him or that anyone did. He hit me up the other day in a DM and told me how much, he's like, you have no idea, especially my senior year, how much you impacted my life. And I don't know that you'll ever really know. And then he sent me this really long, beautiful DM. And what that reminded me of is, look, gang, we don't know what the impact is that we're having on the world, right? But we can show up with good intentions. We can show up with empathy, with love, with support, with care, and with a growth mindset. And that is enough. You are enough to be able to do the things that you need to do in those spaces, in those times with that mindset. And then wait it out. You have no idea what Miles Henrys are out there for you that you might be impacting that you had no idea was the case. So with that, I'm going to end it this week. I got to go jump on this thing for the Be About It. It's the Hope and Wade King and my buddy, call me Shivy, are doing a conference. And so that's what I'm jumping onto today about with the conversation being around this idea of race right now. And how do we go from protest to advocacy? Like, how does this actually look like in our schools and in our classrooms going forward? So that's it, gang. I really, really love this group. I just want to say that I really care about you guys. I really appreciate that you show up and you are just bringing your all and sharing your thoughts and feelings and helping one another. Thank you so much for that. That's it, gang. Peace. Hitting all the buttons because there's a lot of stuff to do.